Every empire has secrets, but few are as dark as the one hiding behind a curtain of lace and wings. Victoria's Secret wasn't just selling lingerie, it was selling a dream of perfection, power, and beauty, built by men who didn't understand any of it. And then he appeared. Jeffrey Epstein, a man who claimed he could make you an angel, a man who used that promise to lure women into something far more sinister. Tonight we're pulling the wings off the fantasy, because behind the sparkle there were lawsuits, cover-ups, and connections that make the Epstein files look even darker than you've heard. By the end of this video, you'll see how the world's most glamorous brand became the backdrop to one of the most disturbing scandals of our time, and why Victoria's Secret might not have been his only secret. So stay till the end, because the final twist, it changes everything you thought you knew about power, beauty, and the price of silence. Our story begins in 1977, when Victoria's Secret was founded in California. What began as a boutique for men to buy lingerie for women exploded into a cultural phenomenon by the 1990s. Supermodels known as angels, the famed runway shows, diamond-encrusted bras of multi-million-dollar value. The brand sold not just underwear, but aspiration. You could be an angel. Under the leadership of retail magnate Les Wexner, Victoria's Secret became a multi-billion-dollar empire. The annual fashion show became must-see TV, the cosmic event of sexy. But this success came at a cost: a narrow definition of beauty, a strict culture of perfection, and a vision rooted in fantasy rather than reality. Behind the scenes, models were expected to maintain near-impossible physiques, endure grueling schedules, and live the angel life. The brand's image, once glamorous, eventually began showing cracks. The image was excluding many, and the world was changing. In 2010, a segment of the Victoria's Secret fashion show titled Wild Things featured model Emanuela de Paula painted with black lines as tribal art. The moment triggered accusations of racism and cultural insensitivity. Again in 2016 and 2017, the brand faced criticism for using Chinese, Mexican, indigenous cultures as exotic themes for profit rather than authentic respect. The message was loud. The fantasy was built on others' realities. Scene 5. Exclusion, the trans and plus-size row. In November 2018, then CMO Ed Razek said of transgender models, "No, I don't think we should include them in the show because the show is a fantasy." The backlash was immediate. The brand's refusal to evolve compounded the message. The angel ideal was fixed, narrow, and exclusive. As the culture moved toward body positivity and inclusivity, Victoria's Secret refused to bend, and the sales began to reflect that. Here the story gets darker. The brand's empire wasn't just about lingerie. It was about power, influence, access. Journalistic investigations revealed that Jeffrey Epstein, convicted sex offender and financier, had deep ties to the company. In the 1990s, Epstein served as advisor to Wexner and posed as a recruiter for Victoria's Secret in order to gain access to young models. One particular case, model Alicia Arden was allegedly invited by Epstein to discuss appearing in the brand's catalog. The meeting turned into an attempted assault. Suddenly, the fantasy world of angel wings appeared less like empowerment and more like predation. A shareholder lawsuit stated that Wexner and other executives created an entrenched culture of misogyny, bullying, and harassment, aware of abuses being committed by Epstein. In 2019 and beyond, Victoria's Secret faced lawsuits and internal complaints about harassment, discrimination, and abuse. Employees described an environment where complaints were dismissed, voices silenced, and the image took precedence over integrity. The runway remained radiant, but behind closed doors, shadows gathered. The fashion show implodes. By 2018, viewership of the Victoria's Secret fashion show had plunged from approximately 9 million viewers, 2014, to approximately 3.2 million, 2018. In November 2019, the company announced the show was canceled indefinitely, citing lack of impact and reputational harm. It was a dramatic fall, from cultural spectacle to a symbol of everything the brand had gotten wrong. Meanwhile, competitors like Savage X Fenty and Aerie embraced diversity. Transgender models, plus sizes, realistic bodies. The contrast with Victoria's Secret could not have been starker. Social media roasted the Perfect Body campaign. Petitions gathered thousands of signatures demanding apologies. The fantasy had lost credibility. Women were no longer willing to buy into a one-size-fits-one ideal. In 2021, the brand was spun off as independent. New leadership took over. By 2025, the fashion show returned, but with a vibe check. Inclusivity, trans models, older models, plus-size models. Still, many critics say it's too little, too late. A brand trying to rewrite its past rather than fully reckon with it. Now we enter the realm of shadows, unverified but compelling whispers. What if Epstein's access through Victoria's Secret was not limited to casual introductions, but formed part of a system that exploited the power imbalance between models and brand? In the late 1990s, a young model is told she's been scouted by Victoria's Secret. The meeting turns out to be organized by Epstein's associate. She retreats in fear. The brand hushes. We may not have full public evidence, but the links are undeniable. Epstein advised Wexner and posed as a recruiter. Imagine the glamour of the runway, the backstage euphoria, the photo ops, and behind it, the pipeline of access. Could it be that the fantasy brand of angel wings also created an environment where young women were vulnerable to predation, to silencing, to exploitation? We know there were lawsuits alleging harassment and cover-ups. We know corporate culture was criticized for misogyny. The Epstein files may never be fully revealed, but the shapes of the truths are visible. Behind every sparkling set piece, every angel silhouette, there were contracts, schedules, travel, hotels, castings. What if some young models were told, "You'll be in the catalog, you'll be an angel, just cooperate"? And what if that promise was also a gate, a trap? While Victoria's Secret enjoyed premier status, the models were often silenced when they complained or dismissed when they sought change. The brand structure prioritized image over safety. In corporate boardrooms, executives worried more about ratings and personas than pressures facing cast members. The brand's fantasy packaging masked systemic issues. Now the brand tries to paint inclusivity, kindness, empowerment. Models of many sizes, trans representation, older women. But one lingering question, is metamorphosis enough, or is this merely damage control? If the same structures remain, if the same profit over people mindset persists beneath new models, then the fantasy may shift only in surface, not in soul. Some say Victoria's Secret's new show is still about spectacle, still about wings and very sexy marketing, and still not fully confronting the past. The story of Victoria's Secret warns, when a brand builds on an unattainable ideal, it silences other voices. It creates pressure, exclusion, and masks shadows. For women, the message was clear. There's a standard, and if you don't make it, you're invisible or broken. That has real psychological and cultural costs. Access is power, and when young, aspiring models seek access, they are vulnerable. A brand with influence, global reach, and the promise of stardom holds tremendous sway. That power must be responsibly managed. The Epstein ties show how easily access can be manipulated. If Victoria's Secret is to be reborn authentically, it must do more than cast diverse models. It must rebuild its internal culture, transparency, safety, equality, real empowerment. This was the video, guys. Hope you guys liked it. If yes, please subscribe to FactPros for more videos like this. Thank you.